Hi Andrew, little look at the face-on footage. First thing we talked about, obviously we related what was going on down the line, involving the body a little bit more. One of the things that was noticeable from face-on was that, first of all, this left knee does very, very little early in the swing. So very little movement of the left knee, which is preventing the hips from turning, which is preventing the left shoulder from working down, which is pretty typical of someone who is sort of armsy, if you will, as described before in the down the line view from P1 to P2. Now later in the swing, to facilitate a little bit more turn, the left knee kicks in very late. We see a lot of side bending to the left going in at the last minute, pushing the upper centre forward, and therefore making it difficult to separate the two centres in the downswing. Setup, we ask you to make more of make a setup that is more stack and tilt noticeable, if you will, and put more weight on the left side. Do so by flexing the left knee. So I want a little bit of that left knee flex and movement that we're lacking during the overall movement, putting in there at P1. So setting up with a weight forward, the feel was about 70%, 75% of the weight forward via the flexing of the left knee. And then as the body dominates the takeaway a little bit more, as per the down the line critique, the left knee will start to become a little bit more active a little bit sooner. So this left knee will start to come in a little bit sooner rather than just staying where it is. Towards the sort of midway point in your session, we tidied things up a little bit. There was certainly less movement off the ball, and what we're doing here is we've got the stake to the side of your head just to teach you to separate the two centres more appropriately and learn to extend in the finish rather than allowing that upper centre to drift forward throughout the downswing. It's going to be an ongoing process. We've got drills in place that are going to get rid of the flex forward in the spine, the maintaining the pelvic flex, allowing you to extend the pelvis, stretch the spine off and the neck in a much more appropriate manner. And this allowed for a shallower angle of attack and much higher shots with more of a draw bias. It's not the finished product by any stretch of the imagination. As we said during the session, the extension and the separation of the two centres is happening towards the end of the through swing. It's happening a little bit before impact, which is why we saw better ball flight. But there's a lot more going in towards the end, so we need that to go in a more incremental manner. And what we also need to do is just free up that left knee. I'm going to take you back to P1 on the left hand side, and I'm going to bring up some footage of let's get Troy Matterson up here for you from face on, just so that you can see what I'm talking about with the lead knee. So your lead knee does very, very little early in the piece, very little movement from P1 to P2. It's sort of moving this way, so it's flexing forward. But in order for your hips to turn and your body to turn, which will bring the arms in, stop the club rolling behind you, it needs to do more in this direction. So if we watch what happens with Troy from P1 to P2, you can see the lead knee, P1 to P2.5, 2.3. The lead knee's coming in a little bit more. So if you consider where the lead knee is set up, moving inwards and flexing forwards throughout the backswing. Whereas with yourself, very little movement inwards until very late in the piece. And again, that's typical of someone who isn't doing a great deal with the body from P1 to P2. So the lead knee can move in a little bit. It should move in a little bit. That's allowing the hips to turn, which is bringing the arms in during the takeaway. You see the P2 how much more active Troy's trunk has been. Again, as per the down the line footage. So keep working on the key moves. Nail the arms to the chest. Arms do nothing during the takeaway. And then learn to separate the two centres in the downswing. At P1, have a little bit more flex in that lead knee. Good luck with it. I look forward to seeing you again in early February. Well done.